My name is Nicholas. I won $5 million in the lottery. 2 years later, I was broke. At 28, I held a ticket worth more money than my family had seen in 3 generations. I thought I'd finally made it. I paid off my mom's house. I said yes to everyone who asked. I met a man who showed me papers and promised returns I couldn't refuse. The account that had millions started bleeding faster than I could track. Then I found something that made the shame quiet down, until it didn't. I went from a 3-bedroom house to a weekly motel to the back seat of my car. I didn't lose it all at once. I lost it in wire transfers, pill bottles, and promises I believed. No one stole it. I gave it away. Let me take you back to the parking lot where I scratched that ticket under the lights, and the day I ended up sitting in that same spot with nothing left. When winning everything costs you everything, what's really left to lose? I stopped for gas on my way home from work. November 12th, 2019, a Tuesday night, maybe 9:40. I remember because the clock on the pump was flickering and I had to squint to read it. My back hurt from 10 hours of crawling through ductwork in an office building in Holyoke. My knees hurt. My shoulders hurt. I was 28 years old and my body already felt older. The Civic's tank was almost empty. I had $6 in my wallet until Friday when my paycheck would hit. Gas took 4 of those dollars. I stood there watching the numbers climb on the pump. $3.87, $3.91, $3.96, and stopped it at $4 exactly. I didn't want to risk going over. Inside the 7-Eleven, I grabbed a bottle of water. That was the last dollar. But then I saw the lottery display near the register, the big electronic board that cycled through jackpot amounts. Mega Millions Spectacular, $5 million. The numbers were bright yellow, flashing. 5 million. I liked that it was round. I liked that it felt possible in a way that 50 million or 100 million didn't. I put the water back and bought a scratch-off instead. The ticket was in my hand before I even thought about it. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with reading glasses on a chain, scanned it and said, "Good luck, honey." I said thanks and walked out into the parking lot. The fluorescent lights above the gas pumps made everything look greenish and too bright. I stood under the canopy and pulled a nickel out of my pocket. The ticket had 3 rows of numbers and a row of your numbers across the top. You had to match 3 to win. I scratched the coating off slowly, 1 square at a time, because that's what I always did. I didn't want to miss anything. First number, 07. I looked at your numbers. There it was. 07. Second number, 14. I checked again. 14. Third number, 29. My heart started going faster. 29 was there too. I stood very still. I scratched the prize amount at the bottom. It said $5 million in big block letters. I looked at it for a long time, maybe a full minute. I looked at the numbers again to make sure I hadn't misread them. 7, 14, 29. All 3 matched. I turned the ticket over and read the fine print on the back. I turned it back and checked the numbers a 4th time. A woman walked past me carrying a bag of Doritos and a fountain drink. She slowed down and looked at me. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." She kept walking. I stood there with the ticket in my hand, staring at it under the lights, trying to make my brain catch up to what I was seeing. $0.5 million. I got back in the car and sat in the driver's seat with the door open and my feet still on the pavement. I put the ticket on the passenger seat and stared at it. I picked it up again and checked the numbers a 5th time. Still matched. I folded it carefully and put it in the front pocket of my jeans. Then I took it back out because I was afraid it would get bent or torn. I opened the glove compartment and put it inside, under the car manual. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. I drove home the same way I always did. Route 9 to I-91, exit 13, left on State Street. I didn't speed. I didn't run any yellow lights. I used my turn signal at every intersection. I kept both hands on the wheel and checked my mirrors twice as often as normal. When I got to my apartment in Springfield, I parked in my usual spot and sat there for another few minutes with the engine off. The ticket was still in the glove compartment. I could feel it there even though I couldn't see it. I thought about taking it inside, but I didn't want to leave it in the apartment either. What if there was a fire? What if someone broke in? I locked the glove compartment, something I'd never done before, and got out. Inside, I sat on the couch and turned on the TV. I didn't watch it. I stared at the wall and tried to think about what happens next. Do you call someone? Do you go to the lottery office? Do you hire a lawyer first? I didn't know. I'd never thought about it because I'd never expected to win. I thought about my mom. I thought about the mortgage on her house in Springfield, the one she'd been paying off since my dad died in 2015. She worked 2 jobs, morning shift at Stop and Shop, afternoon shift cleaning offices downtown. She'd been doing that for 4 years. $63,000 left on the mortgage. I knew because she'd mentioned it last month when I asked why she looked so tired that I could pay that off. I could just write a check and pay it off. I lay down on the couch and stared at the ceiling. My phone was on the coffee table. I didn't pick it up. I didn't call anyone. I didn't know what to say. How do you tell someone you just won $5 million? What words do you use? I didn't sleep that night. I stayed on the couch until the sky started getting lighter outside the window. Around 6 a.m., I went out to the car and checked the glove compartment. The ticket was still there. I brought it inside and put it in a Ziploc bag, then put the bag in a drawer in my bedroom, under a stack of t-shirts. I called in sick to work. I told my uncle I had the flu. He said feel better and hung up. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee I didn't drink and thought about what my life was about to become. I didn't tell anyone for 2 days. I went to work on Thursday and Friday like nothing had happened. I installed ductwork in a restaurant kitchen and nodded when my uncle asked if I was feeling better. I said, yeah, much better. I didn't look him in the eye. On Saturday morning, I got in my car and drove to Dorchester. The Massachusetts Lottery headquarters was in a gray office building near the expressway. I'd looked up the address online the night before. I brought the ticket in the Ziploc bag, tucked inside the glove compartment, which I locked again even though I was driving. The parking lot was half empty. I sat in the car for 10 minutes, staring at the building, before I got out. I took the glove compartment key off my keyring and put it in my pocket. I locked the car twice to make sure. Inside, the lobby was bright and quiet. There was a receptionist behind a desk and a sign that said lottery claims with an arrow pointing down a hallway. I followed the arrow. My hands were sweating. I wiped them on my jeans. A woman at a desk asked if I had an appointment. I said no. She asked if I had a winning ticket. I nodded. She handed me a clipboard with a form on it and told me to fill it out in the waiting area. The waiting area had 6 chairs and a coffee table with old magazines on it. I sat down and looked at the form. Name, address, phone number, social security number, amount won. I filled it all out with a pen that was chained to the clipboard. My handwriting looked shaky. I handed the form back to the woman. She looked at it, then looked at me. 5 million. Yes. She nodded and picked up a phone. She said something I couldn't hear, then hung up. Someone will be with you in a few minutes. I sat back down. I looked at my phone. I put it away. I looked at the ceiling. There were fluorescent lights and white tiles. Everything felt too bright. A man in a button-down shirt came out and called my name. I followed him into an office. He sat behind a desk and asked for the ticket. I took the Ziploc bag out of my pocket and handed it to him. He opened it carefully and laid the ticket on the desk. He looked at it under a light, then scanned it with a machine. The machine beeped. Congratulations, he said. He didn't smile. He said it the way someone would say, here's your receipt. He explained the process. Verification would take a few days. They'd run a background check to make sure I didn't owe back taxes or child support. Assuming everything cleared, I'd have 2 options, lump sum or annuity. Lump sum meant I'd get about 60% of the jackpot after taxes, all at once. Annuity meant annual payments over 30 years, slightly more total, but spread out. Most people take the lump sum, he said. How much is that? I asked. He typed something into his computer. After federal and state withholding, approximately $2.8 million. $2.8 million. I nodded like that made sense. Like I understood what that number meant. That he printed out a stack of forms and slid them across the desk. Read these carefully. Sign where it's marked. Your name will become public record. We're required to release the names of winners over $600. If you want advice, hire a financial planner and an attorney before you tell anyone else. Here's a list of people we recommend. He handed me a single sheet of paper with names and phone numbers. I folded it and put it in my pocket. I signed the forms. He made copies of my driver's license and social security card. He gave me a receipt that said the funds would be deposited within 7 to 10 business days. He shook my hand. I left. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and looked at the receipt. It had a confirmation number and a date, November 16th, 2019. I put it in the glove compartment next to the car manual. I drove to a Dunkin' Donuts and ordered a coffee. I sat in a booth by the window and stared at my phone. 3 missed calls from my mom. I hadn't talked to her since Tuesday that I called her back. Nicholas, she said. Her voice was higher than usual. Is it true? My stomach dropped. Is what true? Someone from Channel 22 called me. They said you won the lottery. I closed my eyes. Yeah, it's true. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she started crying. Mom, how much? 5 million. But after taxes it's less. It's, oh my God. Nicholas. Oh my God. I was going to tell you. When did this happen? Tuesday night. She was quiet again. I could hear her breathing. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Where are you? Dunkin' Donuts. By yourself? Yeah. Nicholas. Her voice cracked. You won $5 million and you're sitting by yourself at Dunkin' Donuts. I didn't know what to say to that. Come over, she said. Right now? Come over. I drove to her house. She was waiting on the porch when I pulled up. She hugged me in the driveway and didn't let go for a long time. Inside, we sat at the kitchen table. She made tea I didn't drink. I told her about the ticket, about the claim office, about the 7 to 10 business days. I told her the number, 2.8 million. She put her hands over her face and cried again. When she looked up, she said, "What are you going to do?" I don't know yet. She reached across the table and took my hand. Your father would be so proud. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to talk. She squeezed my hand. You're going to be okay. You're going to be smart about this. I know. I said that I believed it when I said it. The money hit my account on November 22nd. I was at work when it happened. My phone buzzed in my pocket during lunch break. I pulled it out and saw the notification from my bank app. I opened it. Available balance. $2, 847, 391.16. I stared at the screen. I refreshed the app. The number stayed the same. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and looked at that number for maybe 20 minutes. I didn't eat my sandwich. I just sat there, holding my phone, trying to make it feel real. The IT didn't feel real. When I got home that night, I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account on the desktop just to see it on a bigger screen. Still there. $2.8 million. I took a screenshot. Then I deleted the screenshot because I didn't know if that was safe. I called my mom. It's in the account, I said. She started crying again. I was getting used to that. I want to pay off your mortgage, I said. Nicholas, how much is left? You don't have to, Mom. How much? She was quiet. Then she said, 67,000. Okay, I'm writing you a check. Nicholas, it's done. I'm doing it. She cried harder. I stayed on the phone with her until she stopped. The next day, I drove to her house with a check for $67,000. I'd never written a check with that many zeros before. My hand shook a little when I signed it. She held it like it was made of glass. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. She hugged me. She smelled like the lavender soap she always used. Your father would be so proud. She said again that I stayed for dinner. We didn't talk about the money. We talked about her job at Stop and Shop, about my uncle's HVAC business, about the weather. Normal things. It felt good to talk about normal things. But when I left, driving back to my apartment, I felt it. The weight of the money. The knowledge that I could fix things now. I could help people. I could say yes. My phone rang while I was on I-91. It was my cousin Trey. Yo, he said. I heard. Congrats, man. Thanks. Listen, I wanted to run something by you. You got a minute? I knew what this was. I'd been waiting for it. Yeah, I said. What's up? I've been looking into this sneaker resale thing. You know, limited releases, flipping them online. There's real money in it. I'm talking 20, 30% profit on every pair. I didn't say anything. I just need some startup capital, he said. Maybe 50K? I'll pay you back with interest. 6 months, tops. I thought about saying no. I thought about telling him I needed to be smart, that I couldn't just hand out money to everyone who asked. But this was Trey. We grew up together. He was at my dad's funeral. He'd always been there. Let me think about it, I said. For sure, man. No pressure. Just let me know. I thought about it for 2 days. Then I wired him $50,000 that he called me right after it went through. Bro, thank you. I swear I'm gonna make this work. I know you will. I'm serious. I'm not gonna let you down. I know. He didn't let me down. He didn't make the business work either, but that wasn't really the point. The point was I'd said yes. I'd helped someone I cared about. That felt right. A week later, I was having dinner with my girlfriend Jasmine. We'd been together for 8 months. She was smart, graduate degree, worked in marketing, made decent money. But she had loans. $93,000 in student loans. She'd mentioned them before, casually, the way you mention something you've learned to live with. We were at an Italian place in Northampton. She ordered the chicken marsala. I ordered pasta. We split a bottle of wine. Halfway through dinner, she got quiet. You okay? I asked. She nodded. Then she said, can I ask you something? Yeah. What are you going to do with it? The money. I shrugged. I don't know yet. Buy a house, maybe. Invest some of it. She nodded. She looked down at her plate. What? I said. Nothing. It's just, she stopped. Never mind. Tell me. She looked up. I have these loans. They're killing me. I pay $600 a month, and it barely touches the principal. I knew where this was going. How much do you owe? I asked. 93,000. I didn't hesitate. I'll pay them off. Her eyes went wide. Nicholas, I'm serious. I'll pay them off. That's a lot of money. I have a lot of money. She started crying. Not sad crying. The other kind. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. She came around the table and hugged me. The waiter looked over and smiled. I'll never forget this, she said. I swear. I'll never forget this. I paid off her loans the next week. $93,000, wired directly to her loan servicer. She called me crying when it went through. She said she loved me. She said I was the most generous person she'd ever met. 3 months later, she left me for a guy named Brad she met at Planet Fitness, but I didn't know that yet. In that moment, sitting in the restaurant with her arms around me, I felt good. I felt like the money was doing what it was supposed to do. I felt like I was becoming the kind of person who helped people. I didn't know I was becoming the kind of person who couldn't say no. I bought the house in Northampton in January. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, hardwood floors, a backyard with an oak tree. $425,000, cash. The realtor kept saying how unusual that was. Most people her age had never seen an all-cash offer. She said it like it was a compliment. My financial advisor said real estate was smart. You need somewhere to live anyway, he told me. Might as well own it outright. So I signed the papers and got the keys and moved in alone. Jasmine helped me unpack boxes. She talked about painting the bedroom, about what furniture we should buy. She said we a lot. I liked hearing it. My friend Devin called in February. His truck had blown a transmission. $1,500 to fix it, but the truck wasn't worth fixing. He needed something to get to work. I can't ask you for money, he said. I know everyone's probably hitting you up. How much do you need? Man, I don't know. Maybe a few thousand for a beater? I found him a used Silverado online. $18,000. I bought it and had it delivered to his place. He called me crying. Bro, I can't accept this. It's done. It's yours. I'll pay you back. Don't worry about it. He totaled it 6 weeks later. Rear-ended someone on the highway. He called to tell me, and I could hear in his voice he was waiting for me to be mad. I wasn't mad. I was just tired. You okay? I asked. Yeah. Truck's done though. Insurance. Lapsed last month. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, man, he said. It's fine. It wasn't fine. But what was I going to do? In March, I took 12 people to Turks and Caicos. My idea, I wanted to do something big, something memorable. Flights, resort, meals, drinks, everything covered. $34,000 for the week. It was fun for the first 2 days. Then people started acting like it was owed to them. Complaining about the room size, about the food, about the Wi-Fi. Half of them barely said thank you. On the last night, we were at the resort bar. One of my buddies, a guy I'd known since high school, leaned over and said, next time, let's do Dubai. I laughed. He didn't. The requests kept coming after that. A former coworker needed help with rent. An old classmate's car needed brakes. Someone's mom needed surgery. Everyone had an emergency. Everyone had a reason. I kept saying yes. I kept writing checks, sending Venmos, wiring money. The account that had $2.8 million started dropping. 2.5, 2.2, 1.9. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I was helping people. I didn't tell myself the truth. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to watch someone I cared about struggle when I had the power to fix it. Saying no felt cruel. Saying no felt selfish. I kept saying yes, and the money kept disappearing. I met Kenny at a sports bar in Holyoke in April 2020. I was there alone, watching the Celtics game, drinking a beer I didn't really want. He sat down next to me and nodded at the screen. They're gonna choke in the fourth, he said. He was right. They did that we talked through the rest of the game. He bought the next round. He was mid-40s, looked successful, nice watch, expensive sneakers, talked about money like someone who had it. He drove a Range Rover. I saw it when we walked out to the parking lot. You're the lottery guy, right? He said. My stomach tightened. Yeah. He nodded. Thought so. Saw your picture in the paper. Congratulations, man. Thanks. You doing anything with it? Investing. Some. Index funds, mostly. He made a face. That's safe. But you're young. You could be aggressive. I didn't say anything. I'm in real estate, he said. Flipping foreclosures. Springfield, Worcester, couple other cities. We're getting 40–50% returns. Sometimes more. 40%. Easy. Market's hot right now. People are desperate for housing. We buy low, renovate, sell high. It's a formula. He handed me his card. Kenneth Brennan, Principal, Northeast Property Solutions, LLC. Think about it, he said. I'm always looking for partners. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I called him. We met at a Panera in West Springfield. He brought paperwork, LLC documents, property photos, spreadsheets showing projected earnings. Everything looked legitimate. Professional. We've got 2 properties closing next month, he said. Both need maybe $30K in work. We'll flip them in 6 months, sell for double. Your cut would be 40% on whatever you invest. 40% in 6 months. Guaranteed. I'd already lost so much money to people I trusted. Trey's sneaker business had gone nowhere. Jasmine had taken her loan payoff and left me for Brad. Devin had totaled the truck. I needed someone who actually knew what they were doing. Kenny felt different. He felt like someone who understood money. Someone who could help me make it back. How much are you looking for? I asked. Depends on you. I've got other investors, but I like to keep the group small. I wired him $150,000 in May. He sent updates every couple weeks, renovations ahead of schedule. Contractor doing great work, buyers already interested. In July. He said he had another property. Better deal, faster turnaround. I sent him another $170,000 by August. I'd given Kenny $320,000. My financial advisor called me. Nicholas, I saw some unusual transfers. What's going on? Real estate investment. Through what company? Northeast Property Solutions. Pause. I haven't heard of them. Did you have an attorney review the documents? They looked fine. Nicholas, I know what I'm doing. I really think. I stopped returning his calls after that. Kenny sent updates through September. Then October. Then the updates got vague. Permit issues, he said. Just a delay. In November, I tried calling him. The number was disconnected. I hired a lawyer in December 2020. I brought him every email, every document, every text message from Kenny. He read through it all, then looked up at me. You signed this. He pointed to a clause near the bottom of the LLC agreement. Yeah, this says you understand the investment carries substantial risk and that you waive any right to recourse in the event of loss. What does that mean? It means you have no legal claim. If the investment fails, you can't sue. My chest felt tight. But he lied. He showed me fake properties. Can you prove they were fake? The addresses don't exist. Did you visit them? No. Did you verify anything before you signed? I didn't answer. I'm sorry, he said, but you don't have a case. The documents are technically legal. He protected himself. $320,000. Gone. I started drinking more after that. Bourbon at night, sometimes during the day. It helped for a little while. Made everything quieter. But the quiet didn't last. Someone, maybe Trey, I don't remember, told me about a guy who sold pills. Percocet. I bought a bottle to help me sleep. They worked better than the bourbon. Within a month, I was buying them twice a week. Then every other day. Then daily. $200 a day, sometimes more. The math didn't matter. Nothing mattered except not feeling the weight of what I'd done. I stopped answering emails. Stopped paying bills. Property tax notices piled up on the kitchen counter unopened. I knew I should deal with them. I just couldn't. My uncle called in January 2021. You missed 3 shifts this week. I know. I'm sorry. Nicholas, I can't keep doing this. I'll be there Monday. Don't bother. I'm letting you go. I didn't argue. I just hung up. Jasmine had already left by then. Moved in with Brad in December. Took most of her stuff while I was out. Left a note on the counter that said she couldn't watch me destroy myself. My mom showed up in August with my Aunt Linda and Trey. I opened the door and saw their faces and knew what this was. We need to talk. Mom said. I'm fine. You're not fine. Her voice broke. Nicholas, look at yourself. I hadn't showered in 4 days. The house smelled like garbage and sweat. There's a bed open at a rehab in Greenfield, Aunt Linda said. We can take you today. I don't need rehab. Your father said the same thing, Mom said. 2 years before the heart attack. That hurt. That landed. Get out, I said. Nicholas, get out of my house. Trey stepped forward. Man, I'm sorry. About the pill guy. I shouldn't have. Just go. They left. I locked the door and sat on the couch until it got dark. Then I called the pill guy and spent the last $160 in my checking account. The letter came in September. Certified mail from the town of Northampton. I didn't open it for 2 weeks. It sat on the kitchen counter with all the others. When I finally opened it, I saw the number, $31,247. Property taxes, penalties, interest, due in 30 days or the house goes into foreclosure. I had $11,000 left across 2 accounts. The index funds were already gone, liquidated in June to pay for pills and overdue bills that I called the assessor's office. A woman answered, Town of Northampton, how can I help you? I got a letter about property taxes. I need to set up a payment plan. What's your address? I gave it to her. I heard typing. Mr. Sterling, you're past the point where we can offer payment plans. The foreclosure process has already started, but I just got the letter. That's the final notice. You received 2 previous mailings. I looked at the pile of unopened mail on the counter. How long do I have? I asked. 30 days to vacate once the foreclosure is finalized. That'll be mid-November. I hung up that I sat at the kitchen table and looked around the house. The house I'd bought with cash. The house I was supposed to grow old in. I didn't pack until November 9th. 2 days before the 2-year anniversary of scratching that ticket. I threw clothes into a duffel bag and garbage bags. Left the furniture. Left the dishes. Left everything that didn't fit in the car. I drove to a motel in Chicopee. Weekly rate, $350, cash only. The clerk barely looked at me when I paid. Room 18, second floor, smelled like cigarettes and mildew. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. This is temporary, I told myself. I'll figure it out. I'll find work. I'll get clean. I'll turn this around. I didn't believe any of it, but I said it anyway. Because what else was I supposed to do? The motel had rules posted on the back of the door. No drugs. No loud noise after 10. Payment due every Sunday by noon or you're out. I paid for 3 weeks. Then, on November 28th, I tried to pay for the 4th and my card declined. The clerk, a different guy this time, younger, ran it twice. You got another card? Try it again. He did. Decline. Cash. I checked my wallet. $17. I can get it, I said. Give me until tomorrow. He shook his head. Can't do that. You gotta be out by checkout. 11 a.m. Come on, man. One day. Not my rule. Owner's strict about it. I went back to the room and sat on the bed. I checked my bank app. Negative $83. Overdraft fees. I had $17, a duffel bag, and a 2020 Civic I'd bought in cash 2 years ago. That was it. I packed the car that night. Everything fit in the back seat. I didn't have much. I drove to the Walmart in West Springfield and parked in the back corner of the lot. I'd read somewhere that Walmart lots were safe, that they didn't tow overnight. I reclined the driver's seat as far as it would go. I put my jacket over my chest like a blanket. The temperature was in the 30s. I ran the engine for heat until I was afraid I'd run out of gas, then turned it off and tried to sleep. I didn't sleep. I moved to a different lot the next night. Planet Fitness in Holyoke. I had a membership from 2020, $10 a month, auto pay. It was the one bill I hadn't missed. I figured I could shower there in the mornings. I did that for a week. Park at night, shower in the morning, spend the day at the library or walking around. I applied for jobs on the library computers. Warehouse work, retail, landscaping, anything. N01 called back. The applications always asked for an address. I wrote, currently between residences, in the box. I knew how that looked. I ate once a day. Dollar menu. McChicken, small fries, water cup filled with Sprite when no one was looking. My phone was dying. I charged it at the library, at McDonald's, anywhere I could find an outlet. Winter was coming. Mid-December, the temperature started dropping into the 20s at night. I ran the engine more. My gas gauge dropped faster. I stopped shaving. Stopped caring what I looked like. My clothes smelled like the car, stale fries, sweat, something sour I couldn't wash out. In January, My gym membership card got declined. I tried to explain to the guy at the front desk that it was a mistake, that I'd fix it, but he just shook his head. You gotta update your payment info online. He said that I didn't have another card to update it with. No more showers, that I started smelling like everyone else. I used to avoid. February in Massachusetts is the worst month. The cold isn't sharp anymore. It's just heavy, constant, gray. I woke up every morning stiff and shivering, my breath fogging the windows that I was parked at the commuter rail lot in Northampton. I'd been there 3 nights. On the 4th morning, I woke up coughing. It got worse through the day. By evening, I had a fever. I drove to the Papa Gino's in Chicopee because I didn't know where else to go. I parked in the back corner of the lot and stayed there. I couldn't drive. I couldn't think. I just lay across the front seats, shivering under my jacket, coughing until my ribs ached. I pissed in a Gatorade bottle because I was too weak to get out. On the 3rd day, someone knocked on the window. A manager in a red polo shirt. He motioned for me to roll it down. "You can't stay here," he said. "I'm sick. I know. But I'm gonna have to call the cops if you don't leave." "Okay." I didn't move. He walked away. 10 minutes later, he came back. "I'm serious. You gotta go." I started the car and moved to the far end of the lot. He watched me from the door, then went back inside. I stayed there another day. On the 5th day, someone left a bottle of water and a granola bar on my hood. I didn't see who. I ate the bar in 3 bites and cried for the first time since losing the house. The fever broke that night. I was weak, but I could move again. I drove to the gas station on Memorial Drive and bought a Gatorade with coins I'd collected from the cup holder. 87 cents. I went into the bathroom to wash my face. The mirror was cracked and dirty, but I could see myself. I didn't recognize the person looking back. Hollow eyes, chapped lips, beard growing and patchy and uneven. I looked like the people I used to pretend not to see. I got back in the car and drove to the Walmart lot. I parked in my usual spot. There was a yellow sticker on the windshield. I got out and read it. Notice: vehicle parked in excess of 72 hours. Must be moved within 24 hours or will be towed at owner's expense. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the sticker. I didn't have anywhere else to go. The Civic got towed on February 25th. I'd moved it to a different spot, but it didn't matter. I came back from the library and it was gone. I stood in the empty space for a long time, trying to figure out what to do. The impound lot was in West Springfield. I didn't have money for a cab, so I walked for miles. It took 2 hours. The guy at the impound desk didn't look up when I walked in. "Help you." My car got towed. License and registration. I gave him my license. My registration was in the card. He typed something into the computer. 2020 Civic? Yeah. Impound fee is $380, plus $50 a day storage. I don't have that. He looked at me for the first time. "Then you don't get your car. Can I at least get my stuff out?" He sighed, nodded. "Follow me." He walked me out to the lot. The Civic was in the 3rd row. He unlocked it and stood back. 5 minutes. I grabbed everything I could: clothes, a blanket, a phone charger, a notebook I'd kept in the glove compartment. I stuffed it all into 2 garbage bags. "That's it?" he asked. "Yeah." He locked the car. I walked back to the office and signed a form saying I'd retrieved my belongings. "You got 30 days to pay the fees," he said. "After that, we sell it." I nodded. I walked out with the 2 garbage bags over my shoulder. I walked back to downtown Springfield. Another 4 miles. I sat on a bench outside the bus station and tried to think. My phone was at 6%. I had no car. I had 2 bags of clothes and nowhere to sleep. A guy walked past, smoking a cigarette. He looked at me and stopped. "You good, man?" "Yeah." He didn't leave. "You need a place to stay?" I looked up. "What?" "There's a shelter. Worthington Street. Friends of the homeless. They got beds. Not always, but sometimes." "How do I get in line by 3 or 4? "They do a lottery at 6. If you get a number, you get a bed." "What if I don't?" He shrugged. "Sleep outside, I guess." "Thanks." He nodded and walked away. I picked up my bags and started walking toward Worthington Street. I got in line at 3:30. There were already 20 people ahead of me. By 4, the line stretched around the corner. The building was brick, 2 stories, bars on the windows. A sign above the door said "Friends of the Homeless" in white letters. The paint was chipped. A guy behind me asked if this was my first time. I nodded. "They got 40 beds," he said. "Sometimes 60 people. They call numbers at 6. You get one, you're in. You don't, you're out." Where do people go if they don't get in? Bridge, library steps, wherever. At 6, a woman came out with a clipboard. She started calling numbers. When she got to 38, she called my name. I followed everyone inside. They checked our bags at the door. No drugs, no weapons, no alcohol. A guy 2 people ahead of me got turned away because he had a flask. The beds were in a big open room on the 2nd floor. Bunk beds, metal frames, thin mattresses. It smelled like sweat and disinfectant. I found bed 38 in the back corner. Bottom bunk. I put my bags underneath and sat down. A guy across from me nodded. First night. Yeah, you'll get used to it. I didn't sleep. The room was loud, snoring, coughing, someone talking in their sleep. The lights stayed on all night. Fluorescent, buzzing. At 7 a.m., they woke us up. Everyone had to be out by 7:30. I grabbed my bags and walked outside. It was cold. I walked to the library and waited on the steps until it opened at 9. That became my routine. Line at 3. Lottery at 6. Out by 7:30. Some nights I got to bed. Some nights I didn't. The nights I didn't, I slept under the main street bridge. There were usually 5 or 6 other people there. No one talked much. We just found our spots and tried to stay warm. In March, I watched a guy get jumped in the shelter bathroom. 2 guys wanted his boots. Timberlands, barely worn. They beat him until he gave them up. No one helped. No one said anything. I started keeping my head down after that. Didn't make eye contact. Didn't talk unless I had to. I stopped calling my mom. I couldn't stand hearing her voice break when she asked where I was. I stopped talking to anyone who knew me. Before I became invisible. It was easier. That way. I lost my wallet in early May. I don't know if it was stolen at the shelter or if it fell out of my pocket on the street. I just reached for it one day and it wasn't there. My ID was in there. My debit card. The one photo I still had of my dad. Him standing in front of the grill at a cookout, smiling, holding a spatula. All of it gone. I went to the RMV in Springfield to get a replacement license. The woman at the counter said I needed $25 and a birth certificate. I don't have either. Then I can't help you. How do I get a birth certificate? City Hall. Vital Records. I walked to City Hall. The clerk at Vital Records said I needed $30 and a valid ID. I don't have an ID. That's why I'm here. I can't issue a birth certificate without identification. But I can't get identification without a birth certificate. She looked at me like I was a problem she didn't have time for. I'm sorry. That's the policy. I left. Without an ID, I couldn't get a new debit card. Couldn't cash the $40 check my mom sent to general delivery. Couldn't apply for jobs that required background checks. Couldn't get into some shelters that required state-issued identification. I was stuck. I had a garbage bag with 2 shirts, 1 pair of jeans, and a wool blanket I'd taken from a donation bin outside a church. That was everything I owned. I stopped trying to fix things. I stopped planning. I just moved through the days. Library, shelter line, bridge, repeat. I thought about the ticket all the time. Standing in that parking lot under the fluorescent lights, scratching the silver coating off with a nickel, seeing the numbers match. Thinking my life was about to change. It did change. Just not the way I thought. I remembered the moment I handed Kenny that first wire transfer. The moment I bought Jasmine's loan payoff. The moment I gave Trey $50,000 without asking for a plan. All those yes. All those small decisions that felt like generosity. I didn't know I was giving away my future. I didn't know I was buying my way into this. May blurred into itself. Every day looked the same. I woke up wherever I'd slept, shelter, doorway, bench, and walked. I walked through downtown Springfield, through Forest Park, along State Street, past the basketball courts and the bus stops and the McDonald's on Main. I sat outside the library and watched people come and go. Mothers with strollers, kids on bikes, men in suits talking on phones. I watched them live lives I used to have. Someone gave me $1 once. A woman, maybe 40, walking past with a coffee. She stopped and handed me a crumpled bill without saying anything. Someone else told me to get a job. A guy in a Patriots jersey, loud enough for everyone to hear. Get a job, man. Stop begging. I wasn't begging. I was just sitting. I stopped making eye contact after that. Stopped looking at people at all. I learned to fade into the background, to take up less space, to not exist unless I was in the way. I stood outside the McDonald's sometimes and smelled the fries. I didn't go in. I had no money. I sat on benches and counted the hours until the shelter line opened. I walked past the house in Northampton once. The one I used to own. There was a different car in the driveway. A wreath on the door. Someone else lived there now. Someone else woke up in my bedroom, made coffee in my kitchen, looked out my windows. I kept walking. I thought about my dad a lot. The way he used to grill on Sundays. The way he'd ask about school, about work, about life. The way he smiled in that photo I lost with my wallet. I thought about my mom. About Jasmine. About Trey and Devin and everyone who took pieces of the money and walked away. I thought about Kenny. I wondered where he was. If he thought about me at all. I thought about the ticket every single day. $2.8 million. Gone. The argument started over nothing. A charging outlet in the corner of the shelter common room. A guy named Dale was using it. I needed it. My phone was dead. I was here first, he said. You've been on it for an hour. So I need it. Wait your turn. I didn't have a turn. There was no system. It was just whoever got there first, whoever was willing to fight for it. Come on, man. 5 minutes. Dale stood up. He was bigger than me. I said, wait. I reached for the outlet. He shoved me. I shoved back. A staff member pulled us apart before it went further. A woman, maybe 50, with tired eyes. Both of you. Out. He started it. I said, I don't care. Zero tolerance. You're both out for the night. It wasn't even a fight. Out. Now. Dale left first. I grabbed my bag and followed. Outside, the temperature was dropping. Mid-40s, windy. I walked to the Main Street bridge. There were 4 other people under the overpass already. A woman talking to herself about angels. 2 men sleeping in sleeping bags. A younger guy sitting against the concrete, staring at nothing. I found a spot and sat with my back against the wall. The ground was cold. Damp. I pulled my blanket around my shoulders and stared at the traffic above. Cars passing, headlights cutting through the dark. I thought about every choice that led here. Every yes. Every wire transfer. Every pill. Every missed shift at work. I thought about the intervention. My mom crying. Trey apologizing. Aunt Linda talking about rehab. I thought about walking away from all of them. Telling them to get out of my house. My house. Like it was ever really mine. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, listening to the woman talk about angels. Watching the sky get lighter. When morning came, I walked back to the library and waited on the steps. I borrowed a phone on May 24th. A guy at the shelter named Marcus. He let me use it for 5 minutes. I called my mom. She picked up on the second ring. Hello. Mom. It's me. Silence. Then, Nicholas? Where are you? Springfield. We're in Springfield. Just around. Are you okay? Are you eating? Yeah. I'm fine. Are you safe? Yeah. Her voice broke. I've been so worried. I know. I'm sorry. Where are you staying? I looked around the shelter common room. With a friend. What friend? You don't know him. Pause. Nicholas, are you lying to me? I didn't answer. Please, she said. Please let me help you. I almost said yes. I almost told her everything. The car. The shelter. The bridge. The cold. The hunger. All of it. But I couldn't. I couldn't watch her drain herself trying to save me the way she did with Dad. I couldn't be that burden. I'm okay, I said. I just wanted to hear your voice. Nicholas, I love you. I love you too. Please, I have to go. Wait. I hung up. Marcus took the phone back. I sat on the floor in the corner and put my head in my hands. I wanted to call her back. I wanted to tell her I wasn't okay. I wanted to ask for help, but I didn't. I just sat there until the shelter staff kicked us out at 7:30. That afternoon, I walked past the 7-Eleven on Worthington Street. The clerk, a woman I vaguely recognized from before, was outside smoking. She looked at me. You okay, honey? I nodded. You sure? Yeah. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her face, but she didn't push. She just finished her cigarette and went back inside. I kept walking. A caseworker named Vanessa found me at the shelter on May 26th. She was maybe 40, short hair, kind eyes. Nicholas Sterling? I looked up. Yeah. Can we talk? We sat in a small office off the main room. She had a folder with my name on it. I've been reviewing your case, she said. I think you might qualify for a transitional housing program in Holyoke. 6 months, case management, job placement assistance. Okay, there's a wait list. And you need a valid ID to apply. I don't have one. I know. I can help with that. We can navigate the birth certificate process, and I can front the fees if needed. Why? She looked at me. Because you're young. Because this doesn't have to be permanent. I didn't know what to say. She slid a form across the desk. Fill this out. Bring it back tomorrow. We'll start the process. I took the form, folded it, put it in my pocket. Nicholas, she said, do you want this? I didn't know how to answer. I'd been surviving for so long I'd forgotten what wanting something felt like. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded. Okay, but don't wait too long. I left the office and walked to Forest Park. I sat on a bench near the playground and watched kids on the swings. Their parents standing nearby, watching, smiling. I thought about who I used to be. The guy who worked at his uncle's HVAC company. The guy who had a house and a girlfriend and a future. That guy was gone. I pulled the form out of my pocket and looked at it. Questions about employment history, references, goals. I couldn't fill it out. I didn't know what to write. I folded it back up and put it away. That night, I didn't go to the shelter. I just walked. I walked through downtown Springfield, past the closed storefronts and the bus station and the bar where I used to meet friends. I walked along State Street, past the elementary school, past the house where I grew up. The lights were on inside. A family lived there now. I could see them through the window. A man, a woman, 2 kids at the kitchen table. I kept walking. I ended up on Route 9 without planning to. I stuck out my thumb. A pickup truck stopped after 20 minutes. Where you headed? The driver asked. Hadley. Hop in. He didn't ask questions. Didn't look at me too closely. Just drove. He dropped me off at the 7-Eleven on Route 9. The same one where I'd bought the ticket 2 years and 6 months ago. Thanks, I said. You good? Yeah. He drove away. I stood in the parking lot under the fluorescent lights. The same lights that had been buzzing that night in November 2019. A kid walked out with a Slurpee. He glanced at me and kept walking. I sat down on the curb with my garbage bag next to me. This was the spot. Right here. Where I'd scratched the ticket. Where I'd seen the numbers match. Where I believed my life was about to get better. I tried to remember what that felt like. The hope. The excitement. The certainty that everything was about to change. I couldn't. I thought about Kenny. About Jasmine. About Trey and Devin and everyone who'd taken pieces of me and disappeared. I thought about my mom. About the intervention. About the rehab bed I didn't take. I thought about Vanessa's form, still folded in my pocket. A car pulled up to the pump. A man got out, swiped his card, started filling his tank. He looked at me. Looked away. I sat there for a long time. I didn't know if I'd ever leave. It was almost midnight. The fluorescent lights hummed above me. The pavement was cold through my jeans. I pulled the form out of my pocket and unfolded it. The paper was wrinkled, dirty at the edges. Name, address, employment history, references. I didn't have answers to any of it, but I had Vanessa's number at the bottom, written in pen. Call me when you're ready. I thought about my dad. About the last conversation we had before the heart attack. He'd asked if I was happy. I'd said yes without thinking about it. I wondered what he'd say now. If he'd be disappointed. If he'd understand. I thought about my mom. About the sound of her voice on the phone. Please let me help you. I thought about the $2.8 million. About every check I wrote, every wire transfer, every yes. I tried to be generous. I tried to be the kind of person who helped people, but I didn't know how to help myself. A truck pulled into the lot. The driver went inside, came out with a coffee and a lottery ticket. He scratched it at the pump under the light. He crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. I watched him drive away. I looked at the form again. At Vanessa's number. I could call her tomorrow. I could fill out the form. I could try. Or I could stay here. In this parking lot. In this moment. Where everything started. I folded the form and put it back in my pocket. The lights buzzed above me. Somewhere in the distance. A car horn honked. I sat on the curb and stared at the pavement. Trying to remember what it felt like to believe I deserved good things. I couldn't remember. But the form was still in my pocket, and tomorrow was still coming, whether I was ready or not.